Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's Career Catalyst Industry Engagement webinar, where we'll be looking at the future of jobs and employability. My name's Domenic, Saporito, but you can call me Dom. I'm the co-founder of Outcome.Life, a business set up 5 years ago with the specific purpose of improving the employment outcomes of international students. So, why are we here today? Well, we're here on behalf of the good folk at Study Melbourne to talk about why it is super important for international students to be aware of what's happening with jobs and employability in their chosen industry. By now, most of you should have some idea of the industries that you wish to work in. And we have 3 speakers today that are going to give us the good oil on what's happening in the industries of IT, engineering, and marketing. But first, today's webinar would not be possible if not for Global Victoria and the good folk at Study Melbourne. For those of you new to these webinars, we're here to tell you that Study Melbourne, which is part of Global Victoria, provides a whole host of amazing services for international students, from legal to emotional support and initiatives like this aimed at helping international students to get a job in their field of study. All Study Melbourne services are free, so please check out their website for the events and services they offer. But here to speak a little bit about Study Melbourne and Career Catalyst Initiative is the Acting Director of International Education at Global Vic, Fiona Letos. Fiona, over to you.
Thank you so much, Dom. Really terrific to be here. Good afternoon, everyone. As Dom said, my name is Fiona Letos. I'm really pleased to be representing Study Melbourne and Global Victoria here today. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. First, I would like, of course, to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which I'm speaking, and that's the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. I pay my respects to their elders past and present, and of course to elders from other communities who may be joining us today. So it's my absolute pleasure to welcome you all to today's Study Melbourne Career Catalyst Industry Forum, which is focusing on the future of work. And it's one of the many premium events that we're delivering through Career Catalyst to connect international students to industry and employers. Career Catalyst is the Victorian Government's new free employability and career development program for international students living and studying in Victoria. We're also working really hard to ensure that students studying offshore can also access these programs. And this is part of a suite of Study Melbourne initiatives that we will be delivering throughout 2021, including entrepreneurship, leadership and mentoring that aim to support and empower students with the right skills and connections to further their career goals. So we're really excited about Career Catalyst. Of course, it's being delivered in partnership with Outcome.Life. This is the largest investment in employability programs of any state or territory in Australia. And I think it speaks to Victoria's commitment to international students and, of course, our belief in the amazing talent that international students have to offer Victorian businesses. So since its launch in December last year, we've seen a very strong membership of Career Catalyst with almost 800 members, and that number is growing. And those students are accessing free LinkedIn and interview coaching and support, as well as participating in employability panel discussions with industry leaders on topics such as trends in the job market and opportunities in STEM, just as a couple of examples. And Career Catalyst is also building a community of like-minded professionals, alumni and industry networks, sharing stories of success as business leaders and innovators. And our aim is to create that space for you to make new connections, have really frank conversations with your peers, with your mentors and industry leaders about entering the workforce for the first time, giving you a space to ask for help, and also plotting through what are the next steps that you need to take to launch your career. So when you're part of Career Catalyst, there's not just one peer or one job coach who has your back. We're really hoping to build a community of thousands that you can connect with. And that sense of community and connection is what defines Victoria as a premium global study destination. So we're really taking a strategic and holistic approach to support student work transition and career readiness. And for example, Career Catalyst complements our free international student employment and accommodation legal service. So we want to ensure that you're empowered with the latest information about your work rights, support in accessing work that builds your transferable skills, and those skills that align with your career goals. So, as highly skilled, globally connected students, you bring a unique set of skills to the table, and we hope that Career Catalyst will enhance and build on these skills and strengthen your networks. So today you're going to hear from and participate in some really great conversations about the future of work, including from leaders in business and innovation, and also engineering and strategic marketing. And we know from research that leadership and professional skills such as teamwork, adaptability, innovation, these are all in very high demand from employers. And they're also skills in significant shortage. So we think these skills will be critical to the future of work and the future of employability. And of course, social and interpersonal skills, as well as those human-centered customer service and design skills, are also becoming increasingly important across a range of jobs and industries. And these are some of the themes that I'm sure will be covered today, and really encourage you to join these open conversations around the future of work and what work will look like as we come out the other side of this global pandemic. In Victoria, we're really keen to attract and retain international student graduates. We think this is a great way to support business innovation and diversification and remain incredibly competitive in a global economy. And of course, the Victorian government's very committed to maximising your return on investment while you're studying in Victoria, and as well as ensuring you're best placed and connected to access all opportunities and skills required to prepare you for your future career. So we look forward to hearing from the outcomes of today's industry forum and what I'm sure will be a really fantastic conversation. So thank you. Thanks, Dom. Back to you.
Pleasure. Thanks, Fiona. And I'm sure I speak on behalf of the many international students who've already taken part in the program, LinkedIn, interviewing, all sorts of things. And we'll be putting up the link for everyone to register for others as well. So thanks again. Terrific. All right. So on with the show. So Anya, if you can put up my very famous slide that I love to talk about. Oh, there's a picture of me. That's lovely. Okay, so our topic today is the future of jobs and employability. And but what does that really mean? And why is it so important for international students? Well, I think it's best described in this metaphor of an iceberg. And for those of you who've been along to a few of my webinars, I love to talk about this. And the reason is simple. Jobs are like an iceberg floating in the sea. It's estimated only 15% of all jobs are advertised online. And for those of you who have sent out hundreds, some people even thousands of applications for jobs online to never have even received a reply, you're probably thinking there's a better way, and there is. And it's called the hidden job market, where 85% of jobs are secured. And by engaging with your industry, knowing what's going on in your industry and preparing yourself accordingly, you can have access to this hidden job market where 85% of all jobs live. So, and there's a few points up there that I'm pretty sure that our guest speakers today will highlight. And that is that you've got to know what's going on in your industry. You've got to go to meetups and to webinars. You've got to connect with people, especially those significant people in the industries who are probably the people who are going to be offering jobs, and be very active on social media. Get yourself out there. So with that, we move on to our very first guest, someone that's well known to us, who's going to speak about specifically the IT industry, which covers a lot of people. And we welcome Adam Crowe. Adam, welcome. You're on mute.
Chestnut. Thanks,
no
Dom.
worries. So Adam, tell us a bit about yourself and what you're doing at the moment in the IT industry.
Okay, well, I was lucky enough to get a double degree. I hold a master's degree in electrical engineering, computer science, and focusing on artificial intelligence and advanced networking. So I've been very lucky in the industry to lead a large number of research programs and very commercial entrepreneurial projects at that too. So I've been blessed in that regard. And I've obviously had to do a lot of hiring of people. And when you're running your own business, of course, you have to constantly keep yourself up to date with all the skills and trends that are emerging. So the topic I'm prepared to talk about is employability, and essentially looking at how IT people may prepare themselves for a future in which none of us really know what will happen. So when you're not sure about what will happen, you pretty much have to prepare for anything. And to do that, you have to be very careful about specializing too much in any particular field. So we generally see there are two major parts to our ongoing education, our continuous education, and they are specific tool sets, specific skills, and then that broader knowledge, the more primitive base knowledge that the industry requires. Now in IT, an example of a tool set might be, say, a front-end React. Okay, you'll learn how to use this specific tool to be able to code whatever, say, a client or what you may wish to build. And then there's the back-end side of things where you have to think, well, how might I create algorithms to implement what I need to do? What are the data structures? What are time zones, for example? A lot of that underlying knowledge you want to read up on and learn before you suddenly have to come across it overnight. All right. We see a lot of people having to recode things because they weren't prepared for some of the stuff they weren't sure of. You know, like, again, time zones. Internationalization is a big one. You spend all this effort creating some code and then find you have to now perhaps have users in China that need simplified Chinese. Okay, so the more you learn in that knowledge base of yours, the better equipped you are to, and the ideas and the knowledge lasts for much longer too.
And Adam, you talk a lot about people in the IT industry that actually brand themselves with the tools that they use rather than keeping themselves open. And an example of that I've heard you say before is that if you call yourself a front-end web developer, guess what jobs are going to be offered to you? Front-end web development. And so therefore you're really narrowing what you're doing. Whereas in engineering, and Abdul will probably talk about this a bit later as well, you really want to keep yourself as broad as possible because you don't want to hitch your horse to the one wagon. You know, you want to be able to go with any wagon.
That's right. Look at blockchain, for example. A lot of people quickly call themselves blockchain experts. Okay. And if you're not careful, people will think, well, I won't call for that person because they're a blockchain expert. All right. So keep yourself general. And it also means that when it comes to your imagination, you're able to be far more creative because you've heard the old expression, if you're a hammer, all you see are nails.
Yeah.
If all I use is this particular tool set, that's my solution to everything. So it's really difficult to get out of that mindset. And so that's where we talk about subscriptions. You've got to build habits because none of us are that disciplined or that smart or that organized that we can prepare ourselves and organize ourselves so well that we're efficient in our learning. So we have to build habits that make learning comes to us naturally and easily. So each day, put in that, say, 5 minutes, make it a habit, maybe do it on the train or when you first come into work, and just read up on your industry news, okay? Both your industry and, for example, I love reading Hacker News. That's not work, that's actually fun. But it does expose me to a great deal of IT news and trends and technologies, okay? For those of you who aren't familiar with mathematics, I think as you get older, you'll find you'll develop a love for it and you'll start understanding why data structures work more efficiently along some ways. You'll start understanding matrices and the various mathematical models that we can bring to our designs. Okay, so revisit the subjects that you maybe missed at school and university and that. Okay. The other thing, if you're into, say, React, have a look at things like Node.js News. Okay. I talked about Hacker News. Java is Jack Center. I like that one. If you're into Python, check out Python Charmers too. They're great user groups. So you set yourself up to go to these meetups and you'll learn, and it's a great habit. Okay,
And,
schedule it in.
and Adam, we have this conversation with front-end people all the time, and that is that a lot of front-end people, the future of IT may be no interface at all. I mean, talk
That's
about
right.
that a bit.
It's we often say that the best interface to have is no interface. You don't want to have to make people go out of their way to do something. All right. That's why watches are so convenient. So people don't have to go out of their way to find a clock. But that's what a website is. People have to go out of their way to find a computer, even if it's a mobile, just to be able to look at a website. Okay. So the idea is that in the future, it's going to be a lot more ubiquitous interfaces. Okay. Not just watches, but smart speakers. We also know that augmented reality and virtual reality is just sensational, and it's getting better as the resolutions of the screens that you wear increase and the processing speeds. You're going to see some amazing stuff. And for many of us, we look at the Oculus Quest 2, we look at the Steam VR of that, and we can definitely see where all this is heading. To be able to wear glasses, have virtual monitors everywhere, and it suddenly means that you're no longer having to look at things in a 2D fashion. You can now start looking at things in a 3D fashion. So user interfaces, not just for PCs, have to start considering an interface that you can walk around. Okay.
And so, Adam, why this stuff is important, and this is why international students need to be aware of this, and why they need to subscribe to Hacker News and all of these wonderful outlets where they can get little sound bites of information about what's happening in their industry, because it's forever changing. And again, in my business, Outcome.Life, we've placed 7,000 students into internships on behalf of universities. And so often we get told by an employer, it's not so much about what the student knew, but what they didn't know. Like, for example, if you're a Java person and you were not aware of what Quarkus was, how are you going to get a job?
Yeah, I wouldn't like to think that if I visited a doctor, that doctor stopped reading medical journals the day they left their medical degree.
Yeah.
But that's what it is. And some of the doctors only get their information now from, say, pharmaceutical companies who are saying, here, check this out. And so you'd see a lot of software developers just use what Microsoft told them or the university. All right. So broaden your horizon. Okay. It's not a political thing. It's just a case of what's out there. What can I use? Open source is brilliant. It allows you to not just see what tools are available, but you can grab them and you can play with them hands on. It's the most powerful software thing out. Other technologies like Docker and Kubernetes, they help get your creations to market. All right.
And,
So a good developer knows how to deploy their systems. Okay.
and you were speaking, we were speaking earlier about, what's next for the cloud. Like, everyone thinks that the cloud is just a repository where you put your servers and things like that, but the cloud is changing. So tell everyone a little bit about that.
Okay. Well, one example is that with virtual reality, right, you put your VR helmet on and the latest ones are all mobile. So you can just walk around without any leads. Okay. And you can see very fast virtual reality because you might have a remote server pushing it to you over a fast network. Okay. And what a lot of people aren't seeing is what you can do when you've got a fast network. Okay. So as soon as you have, say, a gigabit internet connection, you can actually run all of your processing remotely and just push the actual visual display and audio. Okay. That's remarkable. So now you don't need to have fast computers at home. You can theoretically have all these very low-end just displays, interfaces around the home. Okay. That's going to happen more and more as it becomes, and quantum computing, when that starts kicking in, you're going to find you're not going to have your own quantum computer at home generally. So we have to start thinking about that flexibility, okay, that broadening of our user interfaces.
And
okay, and by the way, current mechanism which does this now, Google Homes. right?
Yep.
You've got a powerful computer. The interface is just dumb directly at you.
Yep. And we've spoken at length, I think, and we hear it everywhere, that we need to embrace working remotely now, and that's going to be the new normal. But I don't think people realise the gravity of how the world is going to change. Suddenly, not only will you be able to work remotely, but now, and this is really important for local people here in Australia, as well as international, and people overseas looking to work for companies here in Australia, you now need to start marketing yourself globally. There's no reason why anybody on the planet can't work for an IT company, engineering company, and also a marketing company from anywhere in the world. So now it's not just about going to local meetups, it's about marketing globally.
Absolutely correct. The big thing about a good IT person is that they will automate. They will script everything. They scale personally. Okay. The idea is that a good investor, for example, can go to sleep knowing that their investments are working for them. Okay. As a software person, okay, you need to make sure when you go to sleep, your personal systems and software and scripts are also working for you. A lot of people don't do this, right? Have you got a good social media profile? Okay, we're not asking you to post funny memes and things like that. We're asking that you get into the LinkedIn and make sure that you document your achievements. Okay, I love staff who do blogs because they discuss what they're thinking of and what they want to do and how they're reacting to things. So just describing your thoughts on, say, some recent IT news is great. And by putting your thoughts into writing, it helps you clarify how you see things as well.
And what about GitHub, Adam, as a repository for your portfolio?
Absolutely, I love it. You want to build up your folio, and it builds up over years too. So as you're learning, say, open source projects and testing out techniques and so forth, put it on GitHub. Don't keep it all private. Okay, the best developers are those who share more than they receive. Push it all onto GitHub, right? And all of a sudden, that's going to start getting people seeing you. They search and they find you while you're asleep. People will read your blogs while you're asleep. They will try to connect to you on LinkedIn. They will see you as a thought leader. And it doesn't take too much to be a thought leader in areas which are extremely new. All right, get into these areas, flush them out, discover and play with them. Okay, don't just sit on the sofa and let it come to you. Experiment.
Adam, speaking of sofas, what happened a day or so ago on Facebook that every IT person should know and talk about, which again, if you bring this stuff up in an interview with a company, I'm guessing you're going to end up getting the job.
God, I was using one of the latest Oculus Quest updates, and surprise, surprise, now you can now scan your living room sofa into the actual home thing so that you can now just sit on your sofa. It appears in your 3D world. You can sit on it. Great. We're going to see a lot more of that. To be able to just walk around and say, oh, wow, I've virtualized the keyboard.
And why is that? And it sounds so irrelevant to some people, but imagine going to a meetup and you meet someone around our age, Adam, early, late 30s, early 40s, and you introduce what's happened. You will connect with people on a whole different level now, and connect with them on LinkedIn, catch up with them for a cup of coffee. This is the way to access the hidden job market where no one is applying. You're actually creating a job out of the people that you engage with. And it's the way. And if you want to know more about this, please register for the LinkedIn and the other Career Catalyst offerings that Study Melbourne has, because we talk about these in much more depth. But Adam, it's always a pleasure speaking to you. I could see that Abdul was nodding away at some of the things you're saying. I mean, engineers, one being in IT and one being in more what I would call traditional IT. Abdul, welcome. Tell us a bit about yourself.
Thanks, Tom, for having me here. My name is Abdul Rehman Khan, so you can call me Abdul. A bit of background, I'm a civil engineer by bachelor's. I did my bachelor's in India, So I'm an international student. I was an international student previously, so I can easily relate myself with others. And also I studied structural engineering as my specialization. Currently work for Aurecon, which is one of the most highly regarded engineering firm in Australia and also globally. Um, Currently, I work as a structural engineer asset management team and also work for transport team. So bridges is my interest. Apart from that, I love to volunteer a lot. So that's a bit of my background. Um, Past 2.5 years or so, I've been volunteering for Engineers Australia. And yeah, today I'll be speaking about uh, yeah, communication and also how will that help for the future market or future employment of any students. It's not just international, but yeah, any of the students.
And Abdul, engineers, they don't need to have communication skills, surely. Why is that important?
Yeah, just from this experience which I had here, yeah, I'm kind of from the family of engineers. My father's also a civil engineer. Um, if you see and talk through, it's not just you, one single person who's making things up or building it up. It's entire team. So if you don't communicate well, basically your project could end up a disaster, literally a disaster. So when someone's working on a project, engineering project, you definitely would have drainage, civil, mechanical, electrical, and geotech. So different sort of disciplines
Yep.
working together for a specific goal aim. So
Yep.
if you are not able to communicate properly, you're not conveying the message right. It would be interpreted in a wrong way by others. So communication is just the best thing I would say any of the students should focus on. It could be from your casual roles, you're working as a part-time somewhere, or even just trying out speaking with others if you're locally here. But even internationally, if you're there, you still can speak with your lecturers who you're engaging with, online tutors, even try to speak around with local students. So you get that kind of conversations and you build on your communication skills.
And I just typed in the chat there because it answers a couple of questions that have been coming through, and please send your questions through. We'd love to answer them. But a great place to meet people in your industry are at meetups. And Laura asked, is there any websites or platforms recommended for community services? Go to meetup.com and Eventbrite, but also look at industry associations. And Abdul, why should young engineers looking to forge a career in engineering, why is it essential for them to look out for the industry body in engineering?
I'd definitely say if you're looking locally as Engineers Australia, the importance of that is you just get up a huge amount of your network, the building connections you can say. From there, it's not just within your discipline. You definitely would get from your disciplines as well as others. So as I said, it's a teamwork. And whenever you're working on a project, it's not just one engineer working there. So you might end up having a connection as a fire engineer, someone who's a fire engineer. They can bring you in if you're civil or electrical, whatever. So that's how the connection thing works. Um,
And,
Apart from that, yep, go
I
ahead,
was
Tom.
going to ask, and Abdul, do you manage your networks on a platform like LinkedIn? Is that important to you?
Yes, I've started like 2 years back when I was doing my master's. I started small, so um, literally I started my LinkedIn about 2.5 years ago when I was here, like starting studying. Just went to an Engineers Australia event and then starting small. And then it's not just you have connections, you add random people, you also have to maintain them. So I normally don't add randoms. Initially, I did that, of course, that's right. You
Yeah.
find your industry people, of course. But once you start meeting up, you're going to any of the events, you get to know people from different disciplines. Doesn't really matter, engineering, civil, or mechanical. But still, you're meeting them, so you get to know them. Go reach out to them. I have a plan whenever I go to an event. I at least want to have 2 to 3 or 5, at least 5 new people.
That's, yep.
So you start 5, and how you improve on events when you're there in person, of course, or even online events, doesn't really matter. You go in breakout rooms, you get to know people. So 5 per event. Think how many events you attend, and then you just bring that up.
And I've got children as well who are both at RMIT, and I tell them that they, as part of their study, they must go to at least one meetup every week. and their job is to get 3 to 5 important people to connect with. And over time, well, my son, who did that in his first year, by the time September came around, he's now got his part-time job working in his field of study, which is construction management. And I don't know anyone in construction management, so I can't help him. So that is clearly how, you know, the best way to go out there and get your jobs. So Abdul, what's happening as far as regional Victoria and regional areas with engineering? Has that become popular? Is that a place where young engineers should be looking for opportunities?
Yep. I don't want to say any of the big names, but still, most of the bigger companies, engineering companies, could be competitors or friends. You can say joint venture partners. They still do have the offices in regional area. For example, Aurecon itself, they have a Mildura office. Mildura is somewhere northwest corner of Victoria. I think most of the people haven't heard about it, but still the office exists there. There's still people working there. So yeah, businesses are expanding, trying to expand there. They get different incentives from the government, of course, from the business point of view, and profits. But yeah, definitely, there are many other companies who are also having their offices there already set, or they might have a side office at that place, but you're actually working with the office which is in CBD or some of the central districts.
Yeah.
But still, yeah, you can tend to go on a regional side.
And for those international students who are looking at education or engineering as a pathway to migration to Australia, and we hope you do, because we need all of you smart young people to immigrate here. By going regional, you will also end up with perhaps a few extra points towards your immigration as well. So please look out for that. Yep. So any final points, Abdul, or any tips for young engineers about, you know, how to go out there and improve their employment opportunities in engineering?
I'd definitely say you've got a lot of volunteering opportunities. The topic I kept at the last, but still, when you're at a uni level, you still have that student societies, clubs, which you can be a part of. For example, at Swinburne, I'm from Swinburne, so I can talk about that. We didn't have any engineering society or club. I basically thought like, okay, I couldn't get that. So when I'm studying, I can make one. So you get that, take that step ahead and then start, you get to make a new society. And so once we started the society, it was like, when I finished off last year, I had 1,000 members and about 20 odd companies reaching us every year. So that's how you get at the first step. That's basically the first step. Your professors, your tutors, they are the best connections. They can get you into the industry. People like connections through them. Fantastic. Mentors, another thing. If you have a casual mentor, it doesn't need to be from your discipline, but still a mentor. I would 100% recommend that.
Actually, Study Melbourne and Career Catalyst, we're about to launch an initiative for international students to get a mentor, and you can go and register for that. We are looking for around 50 mentees to match with mentors in a pilot program, which should be starting in May. So please go and have a look at that and register your interest if that's something that you would love to participate in. So thank you, Abdul, and I'm sure we'll get a few more questions as we go through. I just want to clear a couple of questions. An anonymous person asked, I'm an architect studying masters. Do you have any idea how to get a job? Again, play the hidden job market. Go to architectural meetups. Go to events where where architects hang around. Make sure that you've got examples of your work with you on your mobile phone. Look for the old ugly people like Adam and I. We're the ones that are probably going to be the most likely to be able to offer you a job. So normally no one is speaking to us, okay? Because we're old. No one wants to speak with us. So make a beeline for people like us. Introduce yourself. Actually, Adam, very quick question. How many international students have you recruited that had done an internship or you met at an event, a meetup event?
Yeah,
roughly.
Quite a few, because most companies are, if they're not actively looking for new staff, they're on the cusp of it. Okay, and that's that hidden job market. All right, meet these people and blow their socks off. All right, show them what you've done, because we're not just after staff, we're also after knowledge, a knowledge base. So you bring with you things that you have done that we think, hey, We would like that. We don't have to go through 3 months of training you. You've already done it, and you can bring that body of work. So again, open source projects, fantastic. Legally, we can integrate them in.
And so, and a couple of quick questions. Ruta and Sylvia, your questions are probably a little bit too specific in order for me to answer in this forum, but please connect with me on LinkedIn. And remember the golden rule on LinkedIn: you must send me a personalized message with your invitation request. You do not need to do it via InMail. You do not need LinkedIn Premium. Save your money. Buy me a cup of coffee instead. I would much prefer that. But hit me up and I'll be happy to help you. Nicholas, I will get to your question, but I want to leave that to the end because I want to pose it to the three people. So now, thank you, Abdul. That was fantastic. And now we move on. Well, maybe we've saved the best till last. I don't know. But by your setup that you've got there, Jonathan, it may be the case. Jonathan, welcome. Introduce yourself and tell us all about what's happening in marketing.
Thanks, Dom. Quick intro. I'm just in the podcast room at the moment. So we run a podcast here called The Science of Advertising Show. But my background, Master of Marketing, I was actually a designer before that. So I've worked client side. So I've worked Fortune 500. I've also worked in TV. I've worked in radio. I've worked with the fastest growing digital businesses in the country. But right now we are in a full service performance marketing agency and we partner with some of the fastest growing brands in Australia and New Zealand. Personally, married with two beautiful 2.5-year-old twin boys.
Wow.
Plenty going on.
Yeah.
But marketing's role.
Yeah, hang on a sec. Now, before you go on, the people in the audience who are IT people, this is going to be very, very relevant to you because and I'm pretty sure, I don't know, but Jonathan may talk about it, but IT is so important for marketing. So instead of doing traditional IT coding and those type of things, please listen to what Jonathan is saying, because I think there could be a career in marketing, but the IT side. So sorry to interrupt. Go on.
That's fine. I can go straight to IT. The important thing to note about IT, more so technology, and it's all encompassing now, is they have a huge amount of influence in terms of what goes on within an organization and the decision-making around it. So a quick story, one of my best friends, he was in IT and he was managing servers and managing everything in between. He started to stumble into marketing and he was trying to make that journey more seamless for his customers. And this is one of Australia's largest painting contractors. He stumbled across a piece of technology called HubSpot, and this is going back 5-6 years ago now, might even be a little bit longer. But he saw this technology and how much time and money this was going to save the business. And this was really early on, to the point where he left that job to start his marketing consultancy in technology. He is now the #1 HubSpot agency in Australia, and he is going absolutely bananas. And the reason he is because he understands technology.
Yep.
So it's really important to know. So marketing automation, AI, machine learning, that will be the future of marketing. Why? Because we're in the experience economy and technology can help make the experience and the buyer journey better.
And so we've been touting this for ages, that anyone that is IT, but perhaps doesn't enjoy it that much and are more salesy, like people say that I'm salesy, what are some of the other tools that they should be learning and becoming familiar with in the marketing area?
Yeah, I'll step back because it's important to understand when you look at marketing, like what is marketing? What is the role of marketing? And it's important to understand where it fits. So marketing, in my view, is to generate attention and to get interest in your product, service, or brand. Sales is to convert that interest into revenue. So what is growing at a rapid rate, and there's a massive shortage of talent in market, is digital marketing.
Right.
So this is growing and it's going bananas. A lot of brands can't find good digital marketers. And specifically right now, it's search and it's social. There's a shortage of talent in market, and brands really still don't know this market, especially social, very well. Sorry, what was your question again, Dom?
Oh, sorry. I was just saying, what are some of the other tools that that some of the students could be learning in their own time, perhaps by doing courses like on Udemy, or perhaps doing the online courses offered by the platforms themselves?
The two, like digital marketing, when you say digital marketing, it's such a massive industry and there's so much in it. But I would suggest that every brand needs people that understand search And within search, we're talking Google primarily.
Yep.
2 parts of it is SEO. So that's organic. How do I rank higher for
Yep.
my website? And then you got SEM or paid search. So that's bidding like through the Google platform. So you need to understand search. The other one's social. And again, there's organic. What's organic posting? What does that do? What benefit does it have? But more so it's the paid strategy that's getting a lot of traction now. And you need to understand both and how they integrate to the holistic marketing funnel. So they're just musts. If you don't understand either of those, chances are you're not going to get a job.
And
but then there's
I was going to say, what about things like Hootsuite and Buffer and these type of things?
totally, like the list goes on. Hootsuite, Buffer, like Crazy Egg, Pipedrive, Optimizely, MailChimp, Marketo, Salesforce, HubSpot,
Yep.
Content Grow. Like the list is massive.
Yep.
But you've got to understand the role that they play.
Yep.
And you want to understand when you're looking at specific organizations, what are they using? What problem? Like when you look at technology, you've got to look at what problem does it solve?
Yep.
And when we look at like, I've sales background, like B2B sales, B2C sales. If I look at B2B sales, if everyone on the call remembers this will be the greatest piece of advice you ever get for anything internal. B2B sales, there's only 3 things you ever sell. As a marketer, doesn't matter what you are, IT. First is, how do I make the business more money? That is number 1. Number 2, how do I save the business money? Number 3, how do I save the business time? Make the money, save them time. If those are the crux of your decision making and how you position things with potential employers, you will absolutely crush it.
Yep. Awesome. And the last 2 in particular sound like engineers to me, and they sound like IT people. Like these people can participate in it, even though they don't consider themselves to be marketers. So, automation, these type of things, very, very important.
It is, but it goes back to the technology and what role does it save? Is it going to generate revenue? So marketing, is it going to generate revenue and attention and interest for the brand? Yep. Is it going to convert better, or, the interest we've got, are we going to get more of that to revenue? So that's making money. Or could we let 2 or 3 people go and there's more efficiencies with this piece of technology and it's going to get a better outcome? I'm saving money for the business. Or analyzing the data and understanding what's really working and what's not. And this is a massive gray area right now. There's a lack of analysts and people that really understand marketing and joining the dots to what's converting revenue at the moment. Yep. That will grow, but platforms like HubSpot are helping join the dots there.
And what are some of the tools that are used? Because we actually get asked this all the time. Probably the most popular internship that host companies are asking for. We've got 450 open opportunities at the moment. The number 1 thing is analysts. And a lot of it is in marketing. So what are some of the tools that are being used in that area?
If you want the brutal honesty, it's still quite crude. Okay. And it's literally Excel, it's CSV files, it's turning around data, it's pivoting and it's coming in with insights. Yep. The challenge is you've got analysts that live in their own world, but they don't know how to tell the story with the data.
Right.
And that's the challenge that I've got. And getting data is not the problem now. It's how do I find the story that's got a meaningful insight that's going to make me money, save me money, or save me time.
Yep. Okay, that's great. Well, for some of the things that we've been recommending, and the number 1 data visualization tool on the planet is Tableau. And Tableau recently purchased by Salesforce, I think for $15 billion. I would actually say that every single student needs to learn Tableau, because data is going to be so important in the future. And as you've said, it's a number 1 thing that is missing in marketing at the moment. What about some other insights on the future of marketing?
We're just touching on back that, just so that everyone knows, like MarTech, which all of that falls into. MarTech used to be 2-3% of marketing budgets. It's now encroaching on 15%. So it's becoming more and more important. Yep. But this is why you've got to understand the platforms that are there. So some other things that might be going on, just in terms of marketing, there's 3 main areas. So you've got marketing and its core principles. Then you've got the creative and messaging. And there's also a gap in market here, but this is growing. And especially as we start integrating tech. So it's really understanding human behavior and the neuroscience that sits behind it. So if you're looking at brand, how do you form memory? How do you retrieve memory? How do you embed memory? What does that look like from a copywriting perspective? Right. You've got to understand the neuroscience that sits behind it. You've got the media channels from an advertising perspective. And I will also suggest that, yes, digital first is coming through like no tomorrow. So you have got to understand digital, but please don't be an ostrich. TV is still around, radio is still around, and they're still around there for baby boomers. Baby boomers right now is the biggest cohort, but that's going to change over the next decade.
Wow. Okay.
But don't be an ostrich in terms of just neglect them, because there's some younger people coming through that just go, it's irrelevant. But you've got to understand that word of mouth, what was, is now Facebook, Instagram. Yellow pages that was is search. TV that was is video, which is TV, SVOD, YouTube. Radio is now podcast, Alexa. Newspapers is apps, social, YouTube. So fundamentals don't change, but the marketing mediums do. So if you understand the fundamentals, you'll be fine, because the landscape changes so fast.
Yeah. And what do you say to those marketers that I interview that have just spent 3 years doing a marketing degree, or have spent a year doing a marketing diploma or social media, and they don't have a very good profile on LinkedIn or just on the internet in general?
My quickest hack for interviewing, and we employ a lot of people, and we know a lot of brands that do as well. I jump onto their LinkedIn, their Facebook, and their Instagram to get an insight of who they are. Like, yes, your resume is important. I look at your experience. Do you have relevant experience? And we're hiring a lot of people that have done 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 internships. We go, they've got some experience, but they're also hungry. They're showing initiative and drive. But yeah, you've got to build your personal brand. Your personal brand is the currency of the next decade.
Yep. And again, can you just say those 3 again? You look at their LinkedIn.
LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. LinkedIn, I look at professional experience and how they describe what asset they could be to the organization.
Yep.
Facebook and Instagram, bluntly, are you a party animal? Do you look like you're going to be reliable and everything else like that? So if you've got a messy LinkedIn or Facebook, Instagram or Facebook, chances are that'll be a red flag going, oh, are they even going to show up to work on time or not? So I want to behind the scenes to see who you are as an individual.
Do you trust CVs as an employer? Do you trust them?
Nowhere near as much. Like, we've changed the recruiting process. We're asking people to send a video now, like a 3 to 5 minute video asking some questions, because I want to see how someone presents on camera. I want to test their knowledge.
Yeah.
CV is less, personal brand is everything.
Especially in marketing.
Especially in marketing. We're about to employ a girl over in the UK because she has proactively been delivering value to us. And I've been following her for months, and her content is ridiculously good.
We actually employed a terrific young lady out of Sydney. I've actually never physically met her, but she was engaging with us on social media. She's an international student. She was so good, we hired her. She now works for us. This is how you get noticed. This is how you get a job here in Australia. We weren't even advertising a job. So that's how you do it.
Let's go back to marketing. So marketing is about getting attention and interest in your brand. You're trying to sell yourself as getting a job. Get attention and interest in the marketplace so people want to buy your product, which is you and the services that you can deliver.
That is awesome. That's great. We'll try and get through a few questions now, because they're all coming through. There's a question here saying, does one need to worry about market saturations in a particular job or field when researching the industry body relevant in time? Adam, you're nodding your head. What do you think?
Yep, absolutely. It's a competitive field, all right? So either A, you are incredibly good, okay, and 90% of people probably think they're above average, but you may find there are whole new fields or niches that you can address because it's new, or people just are lazy, all right? If you work hard, find a niche, build that return on investment, you'll get ahead, right?
And it's what you said earlier, Adam, that point of, don't hook yourself to the one wagon, right? Keep reinventing yourself. They say that millennials are going to have 20 odd, jobs and 5 careers. And that's going to be the same for engineering, IT, and accounting and marketing. Sorry.
Right. Assume your competitors are smarter than you. You got to outwit them somehow.
Yep. Cool. So keep those questions coming through. Sorry, Jonathan, keep going. There's a couple more points that you wanted to talk about that we haven't covered.
Look, I'm happy to take any questions. Look, I think if we just go back to personal brand, because that is literally the most important, I think, if you're looking to get it. So the things that people look for in recruitment: do you have the skills, knowledge, and experience that'll help solve the problem that I have right now? And the problem within digital marketing is there's not a lot of talent. Like, there's a talent shortage at the moment. So if you're doing internships, if you're going and working for free, get experience, because most employers are lazy and they go, you've got experience in things that I need help with right now. Chances are you're going to get the job over someone else that doesn't. Like, it's that simple. And then it's alignment with culture. Culture is really becoming very important for organizations. So if you can, learn as much as you can about, look, I'll give you this. I'm still staggered at the amount of people applying for jobs that don't know anything about our business.
Right.
If you want to get exited from the interview room as fast as possible, don't do any research. If you want to impress someone, know more about the business than they potentially do and deliver value. So do something to get noticed, like review their socials, review their blogs, like find something of value that they go, I wasn't aware of that. We now have a problem that needs solving, and you look like the guy or girl that can solve it for us.
So, Jonathan, if someone wanted to get your attention though and get an interview with you, what's a couple of ways they might go about it?
Be different. So submitting video, don't stalk, but submitting video is great. Like, I was reading an article on LinkedIn the other day, and I thought it was genius. There was an individual that couldn't get any traction, couldn't get a job, and he found the CEO of quite a large organization. And the CEO didn't have a Wikipedia page or an article about them and what they've been able to achieve. So he actually built one. So he went and researched this individual, and he created a wiki page for them. And it blew the CEO away to the point he's like, I don't care who you are. You've shown innovation, you've shown attitude, and I love what you've done. You've got a job regardless, name it. That separates you from the pack.
Yep.
So just submitting a CV and a resume is what everyone else does. And you think about, if you're a marketer, if you do what everyone else does, you're going to get the same result. You've got to get attention. You've got to be different.
And there's a great question here. Is it just as important for someone in IT or engineering to have a social presence?
I can answer that one.
Yeah, go.
I would say irrelevant of the market. If you're the same as everyone else, you're not going to stand out and you're not going to get the job. Like, you are a currency. The more you can increase your currency in terms of value and profile, the more you're going to get paid as well. The more the organization can't live without you. But I would say 100%. Go, Adam.
Yeah, I actually prefer to think of it, make yourself an acquisition rather than an employee, right? Companies are always out, they'll buy other companies, right, for the return on investment and the savings in time, and that Jonathan mentioned. Make yourself want to be acquired by companies.
Yep. And Ayesha, great question. If someone's not on social media, does it reflect poorly with recruiters? I owned a recruitment agency for 14 years. The answer is yes. Okay. You've got to be out there. You've got to be out there showing who you are. You've got to be active on social, on LinkedIn in particular. And we had this terrific young lady called Shashini. And I urge you all to go and have a look at the video of Shashini that's on our Outcome.Life YouTube channel. This young lady, who had 13 people actually on her LinkedIn when I met her, did her internship. By week 10, she had 500 connections. I was the 14th connection after I met her. She got offered 6 jobs in the middle of the pandemic in project management, had never stepped foot into the company where she was doing her internship, nor had she ever met any of her work colleagues in person. That's the power of being online. But that is a great question. Couple of other questions. Who else have we got? A couple of questions are a little bit too specific for here. And you know, we can take some of those offline. Recently completed my Bachelor of Engineering Technology Civil and specialise in construction management. How would you suggest me to build my career at this point? Abdul, what would be your recommendations?
Yep. I'd definitely recommend like using of software. So think as if you're carrying a bag. Then bag, as you move forward, you're filling it with the skills. So any software that's relevant to project management. Now I'm doing construction management. I'm a master's. So I know Primavera, Excel, basic Excel, Sometimes people even try to do VBA on Excel. So if you're really good at coding, you can literally try to get into any of the engineering consulting or contractor side of engineering business.
Yep.
Softwares like Bluebeam, and also there's free user group Metalbug, which also offers you how to use this software. It's kind of a CAD, but more or less relevant to project managers, masters, the students who are studying masters in construction management. Parametric design, if you know something about AutoCAD or Revit, just basic knowledge is enough. Power apps, which you can use, combining with if you have Power BI, knowledge of Power BI basics, I'm just saying basics, still you have that skills. Every skill you get, add that on LinkedIn. Say you have that skill.
So what I'm hearing is that anyone in whatever field, and we've got people here that are in biology and also, Google the contemporary software in your field, in the industry that you work in, and find out what the contemporary software is. I've said it 100 times, it is not up to the university to teach you the most contemporary, up-to-date software, because there's just too many and they change too fast. It's your responsibility. Do not wait for the universities to tell you. But the number one software, it sounds like, and this was from Jonathan as well, Excel or Google Sheets. So having a very, very good handle on using spreadsheets is very, very, very important.
Yeah. And that to basic level. Also, LinkedIn, there's also a platform of LinkedIn Learning. So that's free for students, and most of the student doesn't know about it. If you just go and type on LinkedIn Learning about your discipline, you get a heaps of courses which are freely available. So get the course done, get the certification. There you go.
And a quick, another quick one, Abdul, for you. What are some of the communities for engineers in Australia, or better still, where can they go to find out? Because from memory, there's like 130 different engineering associations in Australia. Where can they go to find them?
So basically, I can provide you the links in the chat, but still, as myself, engineering student, I started from the scratch. So you say Engineers Australia, you've got, I volunteer for Young Engineers Committee for Victorian chapter, and we represent about 40,000 of engineering students. So we are basically the voice of engineering students. They can reach out to Engineers Australia, volunteer for them on their events, attend our events online. Most of the events, CPD events, are currently online. Now we're starting back on face-to-face ones. You have got Engineers Without Borders. They are also there in different countries, not just Australia. You also have Red Cross if you're in Australia. So go volunteer with them. So basically you make connections. You have that connections within engineering or outside engineering, doesn't really matter, but have that volunteering experience. Because myself at Aurecon, I see like the HRs who hire the students, new grads, interns, does regardless. They see the leadership skills. And once you start volunteering, you're taking that step forward. So you have that leadership, you have got communication, you have got teamwork, a lot. And
wonderful.
Yeah.
So look, we're almost out of time, but I just want to answer one very generic question. There's a Year 12 international student interested in IT and cybersecurity, and it asks, what university should they be looking for? What type of courses? My answer to this is it doesn't matter if you're international, Year 12, first year uni, second year uni, third year uni. The things that you learn on your own by Googling and doing courses and posting on GitHub and all those type of things, that's what's going to make the biggest difference. Adam, do you have any thoughts on that?
Absolutely. How about trying to create on GitHub some projects that are involved with cybersecurity? Okay, try to get some companies that you can do some penetration tests with. Okay, there's plenty of software out there. Kali Linux, for example, is a great one. Use Nmap to look for vulnerabilities and so forth. Start offering it to volunteer. Volunteer these services are yours to a lot of organisations. Get well known. This is standard marketing.
Yep.
Okay. Get out there, hands dirty.
So we've reached the end now. Thank you so much to our speakers. Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Abdul. Your insights were absolutely terrific. And to all our listeners, the international students, you're going to get out of it what you put into it. Don't wait for the university to deliver you a job. Stop applying to jobs online. It's almost a waste of time, although some places you do need to apply that way. Get out there, meet people, build your network, That's the way to engage in your industry and to become employed here in Australia. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Study Melbourne. And please look up the other services that we provide. Come along to the other webinars. We'd love to see you there. We love international students. And so, yeah, thank you, everyone, and enjoy your evening. Thanks again.